Greetings, everyone. Hello, I am going ahead and I am launching and going live. I know that some of you are still trickling in, so I just want to take a few moments to introduce today's workshop, as well as let a few more attendees join us here today. Okay, great. And I'm also getting confirmation already that you can see and hear me, so that is wonderful. Well, it looks like we are going to have a pretty big group here today as I continue to see the participant level go up as we get started here. So the very first thing that I would like to do before we launch into anything is take a brief moment to introduce to you my colleague that will be joining us here today. My colleague, Latasha, you've already started chatting with her in the chat window. She is going to be moderating our chat window and answering and addressing any questions that you may have. So if you all want to say a quick hello to Latasha, that is a great way to go ahead and introduce yourself. She's also our editor for our blog and our social media manager. So she does a lot for us here. My name is Dinah, and I am a customer success trainer for Easel, and I manage the learning experiences for our users. And I often do these webinar sessions, although we did take a little bit of a break over the summer holiday. And I know that you probably took some vacation, some time off. Maybe you were at home with your kids, whatever that might be. So I just want to welcome everyone back. I hope you all had a nice summer holiday. Great. And I see that some of you have already taken the time to introduce yourself. So for those who haven't, feel free to just let us know who you are, where you're from. And it's always nice to see where we're getting our participants from. Oftentimes it's from all over the world, and I seem to see that already. So, Lori, hi, thank you. You're a teacher coach from New Jersey. Rachel from Denver. We have Dima from Ottawa. Umberto from Colombia. So many people joining us here today. So it's just so great to see all of the participants. Okay, so a few more things that I would like to address before we launch into the content here is that I do want to just point out the chat window, which all of you have already become familiar with, but you'll probably notice that there is a area where you can go ahead and submit your comments and communicate with all of the other participants in today's session. But right next to it, you'll see that there's also a button for chat, and that's where you can go ahead and put your questions in there. That's helpful because it will show us whether or not it's just a regular chat comment or a question. If you miss that chat button and you put a question in the chat window or in the messaging window to everyone, that's perfectly fine. Latasha will be scoping all of the comments and doing the best that she can to go ahead and address those. My hope is that I can actually address your questions along the way. So feel free to enter them in there. Latasha will answer them, but it's very likely that I will be addressing your questions as we move through the content. I also want to point out that today's session is based off of our very popular ebook, which is the Crash Course in Infographics ebook. You may have already downloaded it, but if not, we will be sending information about how you can download the ebook after today's session. We will put that in a follow-up email. And I just want to go ahead and show that to you here. Okay, so you should be seeing the front cover of this ebook. This is a great resource for after today's session. So if you have any follow-up questions, concerns about creating infographics, this is a great book to reference. We also have a ebook for infographics for your classroom, great for educators and teachers, media specialists who are going to be working with students in the classroom. We'll also be providing a link to this ebook as well so that you can go ahead and dive a little bit deeper there. If you have any specific questions that you might have in regards to specific tasks within Easel, or you want to get tips on how to create infographics and other ways to create infographics, we do have all of those tutorials on our channel on YouTube. You can always go to our channel. We're always uploading new videos. We actually just released a video series on infographic resumes. So if you're looking to update your resume this month, then you can go ahead and explore those videos. And we're also excited to point out that we did launch our Crash Course in Infographics course on Udemy. It's absolutely free, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and subscribe to that course online and tell anyone about it who's interested in learning how to create infographics. It's a version of this live session here, but it's a great way for you to be able to break up the course into short little videos and chunks. So all of this information will, of course, be sent to you in a follow-up email after today's session. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go back to my screen here. And by now, I think we're about 6 minutes in, and I'm pretty sure that most people who have joined us are already joining us. So I just wanted to give that information up front. If you have any questions about us, let us know. And let's just go ahead and dive into the content. To give you an idea of what we're going to be covering here today, I do want to point out that we are going to be providing just a background on how to create infographics and the research process, generating ideas, and then we'll dive into the Easel tool. So we want to give you a little bit of background on how to get started, as well as tips on how to use Easel. If you do want to dive deeper into using Easel, we do a full webinar session, and they're all archived on our YouTube channel, where you can get a full-on session on how to use Easel if that's what you're looking for. So I do want to point this out, but this is for people who want to go beyond our design tool and really know how to prepare and plan out a well-thought-out infographic. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my webcam off so that you can go ahead and focus on my presentation and our screen, and we'll launch into the session. Okay, so it's very important for all of us to really get a good understanding that humans are visual creatures. We gravitate towards visuals, and that's what we're attracted to. When you think about going on social media and when you're surfing the web, what catches your eye? Very often, it's going to be an image or a picture. It's going to be an infographic. And, you know, if you've ever been on Twitter, what catches your eye? Oftentimes it's when someone incorporates an image. And so this is really important for us to know, because when we're trying to communicate important information, being able to create an infographic, something that's well thought out, has very important information, could be a great way to get your message across and prevent people from skipping over very important things that you need to share. Now, infographics and visuals improve learning by up to 400%. That's a lot. And you know, we're not talking about students as learners. We're talking about everyone being learners. Every single day we're learning something new that we are reading on the internet. So you really want to think about just everyone as your audience as a whole. Now, visuals can come in many different formats, but we are going to be focusing on infographics here today, and maybe even just small snippets of infographics that you can incorporate into things like social media. Now, infographics educate and they inform. Now, my hope is that you already know what an infographic is, but oftentimes we get people who may not really be familiar with infographics or don't know the technical definition of that. And so we just want to point out, for the sake of today, that infographics are visual representations that include information. They can include data. And it can just be knowledge that's intended to present information quickly and clearly. And infographics can showcase content that's qualitative, or it can be quantitative. And oftentimes people think infographics are hard to make because it may have a lot of quantitative information. And that could be the case. But if you have just qualitative information to share, then you can certainly still create an infographic. So when you're looking to create that very first infographic, you want to think about a few things and ask yourself these questions. So who are you looking to inform? Think of your target audience. Is it going to be students? Is it going to be customers? Is it going to be your social media following? It can be a lot of people, and you really want to think hard about the actual target audience and really focus in on what they're going to be attracted to, because that's really going to drive your overall message. You also want to talk about, you know, what are you looking to inform about? So it could be information about your company. It can be information that you're looking to share with your students. It can be information that you're looking to share with your social media following. And it can be just tips and advice, whatever that might be. But ultimately, when you think about all of this, you also want to think about what your goal is for creating this infographic? Why do you want to inform? If there's no end goal for you to benefit from it, then maybe infographics may not be the right thing for you. But, you really want to think about how you want to drive people either to your website, to your social media pages. Maybe it's students, you want to drive them to additional information. So ultimately, infographics can be a hook to information and data where you want to get someone started, but then ultimately you do want to move them beyond your infographic and taking action, whether that is learning more from you, your website, more information on the topic, whatever that might be. And that's going to be really important when we get to the point of building out that infographic. Okay, so we're going to keep moving along, and I just want to go ahead and I want to talk about ways that you can generate ideas for an infographic. Now, some of you may already be coming into today's session knowing what you want to do your infographic on, and that's excellent. Oftentimes, generating an idea can be really hard and the hardest part to go ahead and get started. If you already know what you're looking to create an infographic for, why don't you go ahead and share that information in the chat window? I think it's always helpful for people to kind of get an idea as to what others might be considering or thinking about doing. Go ahead and do that. While we wait for some of those responses to come in, of course, go ahead and let's go ahead and talk about ways and places that you can generate ideas for an infographic. So the very first and easiest place is just to use the news. Current events are going to be the best place to start. They're timely, and oftentimes they offer access to brand new data that hasn't been seen before. And oftentimes in news articles, people aren't, or articles aren't always showcasing all of the data. And so if you dig into the content and dig into the original sources of the data, you can go ahead and maybe pull out some other data that wasn't referenced, and maybe it's connected to your industry, your knowledge, whatever you need to share. Another place to consider going is your library, whether it is your public library, your state library that's available online. You don't even have to go to a physical library. There are a lot of online databases that give you access to peer-reviewed journals, academic journals, a lot of publications and content that you don't have available online for free. These subscriptions are already paid for through the library, so it's a great place to go ahead and get started. You can also check what's trending, check Reddit, Twitter, Facebook. They all showcase a feature that will show you what's popular through their trending topics lists. And whatever is trending, what you want to do is think about how it connects to your industry, your business, maybe a topic that you're teaching in the classroom. So it's always a great place to start, but you want to take that next step and think about how you can connect it to your audience and your overall message. You can also just explore existing infographics. There are a lot of great infographics out there. Do a Google image search for your topic, enter some keywords, see what pops up, and it's a great place to go for just inspiration. Now, I'm not saying that you go and copy whatever is out there, but it's a great place to just start to generate ideas for what people are interested in. And then again, you need to take that next step and just think about how you can tie it to your knowledge, your expertise, any information about your business, or anything that you can connect for your students. Okay, so another place is helpareporter.com. It's a great resource for daily emails that are looking for media opportunities. So it's a way to stay ahead of the media trends. And all of those ideas are great ways to turn into infographics or ideas to get started. You can also lean on your expertise. And, we're all experts in something. We all know something that we can share that someone can learn off of. And you can always explain something in a different way, offer your own perspective to others who want to learn about it. So you can always create an infographic on a topic that you know really well. If you're a teacher or an educator, you can always challenge your students to think about what they think they're an expert in. And they can go ahead and create an infographic that shows a process or steps, whatever that might be. Okay, so with that, I'm just taking some time here, and I'm going to take a quick look in the comments to see what people were sharing here in terms of ideas for infographics. And there's a lot of comments in here, so I know Latasha's been on top of these, but a lot of great ideas. So it looks like there's Adima is looking to share some information on the use of therapeutic writing. And so it looks like you may have already created some infographics for your manual. So that's wonderful. And infographics are a nice complement to any articles or books that you might have, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so it looks like an educator is going to be doing an infographic topic on a historical timeline of ideas that has influenced an author, so that's great. Okay, and Linda's going to be discussing how, or you're going to try to help out your customers understand your network project management process through an infographic. So these are all great ideas. It looks like we've kind of, suggested a few, whether you're consulting or you have a business, you're reaching out to your customers, or if you're an educator, there's just so many great ideas. So I hope you all enjoy everyone's ideas and, try to think about how you can expand on that yourself. So we'll keep moving along. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on basic infographic structure, but I do want to point out that there are some very important key components of content that needs to be in an infographic. And it's very similar to writing a paper. And while the organization that you see here is not necessarily how it needs to be structured in an infographic, but it should have all of these components, and it should have somewhat of a flow for your reader. So an infographic should always have a title. The title doesn't necessarily have to be at the top, but keep in mind that oftentimes it is a very good place for it to be, because people do read from top to bottom and left to right. So if you're unsure, that's always kind of a good default, but there are definitely some great infographics where the title might be at the bottom or in the middle and the content is surrounding it. You also want to provide a very brief introduction to your topic. So this is going to be incredibly short. You do not want a very long paragraph for your introduction. You want to be able to summarize the topic in about 1 to 2 sentences, maybe 3 if it's a very involved topic. And this is where you really need to go ahead and be concise with what you're sharing, and make sure that you're only putting text that is need to know for your audience. It sounds like it's very easy to just write 1 to 2 sentences, but it's actually very hard to make sure that you're providing that context that your audience is going to need for your infographic. So you do want to be concise with that. The next section is going to provide all of the examples, facts, data that you have gathered to support your topic or your argument. Again, it doesn't need to be in the middle, but you'll just note that it will be the bulk of your infographic. Lastly, you're going to want to summarize, and you're going to want to reinforce your argument, and you're also going to want to provide that call to action. So again, thinking about why you're actually creating that infographic, at the end, you're going to want to go ahead and provide that call to action, your website, asking students or your audience to join you on social media or follow you on social media, whatever that might be. Maybe you need to direct your students to a deeper dive into the topic, and you're providing them links to additional resources. Those are all great things. And then, of course, you're going to, if you have sources and data for your infographic, then you will also want to go ahead and include that as well. Okay, so let's talk about the 7 most common types of infographics. There are many different types of infographics, and there's many different ways to organize the content. And again, this is another place where people get stuck in terms of organizing the information that they need to share, and the best way to communicate the information, and the best way to provide flow for a reader. So when you think about these 7 most common types of infographics, this is a great place to start. It's very likely that you'll be able to fit the type of information that you're looking to communicate into one of these or a combination of these. So the first one I always like to walk you through is the list. Everyone's made a list before. Whether you do a list on some scratch paper or you've created a list as an assignment or a homework assignment, or you have to list out a process or steps or instructions for a web application. Everyone has done this, so it's one of the easiest infographics to create if it's the very first one that you're looking to do. And a list supports a claim through a series of steps, and it can go, of course, from top to bottom, but think about also how you can maybe move it across the page, make it interesting. So that's the example I have here. And going through templates and examples are a great way for you to kind of figure out how you can organize the content. And this is a template that can be found in Easel Pro, of course, along with many others. The comparison is going to compare two things in a head-to-head study. So you can compare two things that are similar and show how they're different, or you can compare two things that are different and show how they're similar. You can go ahead and leave the decision up to your reader, or you can go ahead and provide your response or your advice or thoughts based off of data that you've collected. So it's really up to you, of course, but this is an example of being able to compare information. The flow chart is a great way to provide an answer to a question that a reader might have, and it allows the reader to go ahead and make choices on their own. Now, we've all have seen different types of flow charts, whether it's an organizational type flow chart or if it's a process or steps that you're following for a web application, or instructions for a new employee, whatever that might be. But an infographic created for this is another easy way to get started, easy way to organize information. Also a great way to showcase some information from a blog article as well. Now, if you have some articles that you've written already in your blog, this is also a great way to get started. You can kind of dig through some of your old articles and see how you can go ahead and make it more visually appealing. You may have some images that are inserted into your post. You know, that's certainly an option. But what you can do, of course, is you can summarize your article in an infographic, and it almost kind of hooks people in to your full article, and it's a great way to get them into your article. So you can always showcase bits of your infographic through social media, or share the infographic through social media, and then get your audience back into your blog post or your article on your website. The map infographic is going to showcase data, and it's going to showcase trends based on location. Great for demographic information or sales data that you're looking to showcase by region or area. It's just a matter of going ahead and selecting the region and then plotting the data points on there. Of course, so that's an option. Here's just a template that you can look at as an example, which is a sales report. So it just shows some sales data in a more engaging and visual way. A data visualization is going to communicate data through charts, graphs, and or design. Now, while they can certainly be bar charts and pie graphs and line graphs that you can use, some of the most engaging infographics use design in their charts and their graphs. So this is a really good example I like to show. Is while you see the bar graph here, you'll also see that it's tied to the profile of the female and male drinking water. And you can see how it lines up and matches up nicely. So this is maybe a little bit more advanced, or if you have a little bit more advanced design skills, or you want to challenge yourself to do that, this definitely makes it a little bit more engaging. But it's just something to think about, of course. And you'll probably find that a combination of these infographics can be used as you are showcasing the data. So don't feel like you have to limit yourself to just choosing one of these options. It can certainly be a combination of these. The last one I want to showcase is the timeline. This is another good one for you if you're just starting out with infographics. Again, we've all had to create some type of a timeline, maybe either for a homework assignment or you've asked your students to do a timeline for an assignment. Maybe you have a personal timeline of your career, your business, whatever you want to showcase. So this is a really nice one to start off with. And a timeline is going to tell a story through chronological flow. And again, it can be very linear. We certainly have some templates that show a linear timeline, but you can always have it move across your page and make it a little bit more interesting for your users. Okay, so those are the 7 types of infographics. And I'll be interested to know, based off of the type of infographic that you're looking to create, did any of these resonate with you? Did you see any of these infographics that you think will work really well with the type of information that you're looking to share? Go ahead and share that with everyone in the chat window. It's just nice to see, what you learned and, how you'll be able to get started with that. If you don't have an idea for an infographic yet and you're just kind of taking that all in, that's perfectly fine too. Let us know in the chat window. It'll be nice to know kind of where you're sitting with that. Okay. And I know it'll take a little bit of time for people to, of course, start responding. Let's see here. See what we get. Okay, so believe your name is Lika. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it looks like you are interested in probably using the flowchart, the map, and the data visualization. So a combination. That's great. Okay. Okay, Maria, and you're mentioning that the cool thing is that you can customize the ones that you can use. Yes, absolutely. All the templates are great because you can just go ahead and customize them for your needs. You can change the colors, enter the data that you need, delete content that doesn't work for your infographic. Okay, and Dima's saying that she likes the idea of summarizing the blog post. Yeah, if you don't have an idea, and you have your articles, dig into those and see what you can visualize for your audience and see if you can recreate that content for them in a more visual way. It might spark some interest in some older blog posts. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Thanks so much for sharing your ideas and tips there. Yes, I will be sharing these slides. They're available. We'll be posting these on our blog as a follow-up or recap. Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly talk about some key steps to building an infographic. Ooh, went ahead of myself there. Okay, so the very first thing that you want to do is, of course, gather your research and create that outline. So you're going to want to make sure that you narrow your topic down as much as you can. There's limited space on an infographic. And so you do want to be careful about that and make sure that you've narrowed it down to the point where you have just enough information to fill out that infographic. If you have a lot of information to share, you may want to consider doing a series or breaking up the content into different infographics. You're also going to want to create that thesis question and determine how you're going to answer that thesis question for your audience. And when you're creating your outline, you're going to want to make sure that there's some type of a flow. You're telling a story for your audience because people will gravitate towards some type of a storyline. Okay, then you're going to want to take your outline and you're going to want to design your infographic. You're going to want to be brief and you're going to want to use as many graphics as you can. So as you take a look at your outline, take a look at some of the key words and enter those into the image library or objects library and determine what type of images are going to work best. You're going to want to think about your colors and your fonts, but keep these limited. You don't want to use a whole lot of color and a whole lot of different fonts because it can be really hard for people to follow, and it doesn't always look very cohesive in that way. You're also going to want to think about whether or not your infographic is viewable and legible, and is it too crowded? White space is really good, so you do want to make sure that there is some white space on your infographic. Now, I'm not being literal in the terms of actual white space. Just make sure that there is some room to breathe around the text and the images so that people know where they need to go next after they consume a section of your infographic. And then lastly, you're going to want to ensure the quality. Now, you should have already done that when you've created your or gathered all of your data and your resources. But what we're talking about here is that before you go ahead and you publish your infographic, if you have any numbers or data that you're working with, just make sure that you type them in correctly. It's very easy to forget a zero or not put the decimal place in the right place, or forget a comma, and so then your numbers are actually wrong even though you gathered the correct information. So that's what you want to look for. Also, make sure that you're crediting your sources either at the bottom or throughout your infographic. It's completely up to you. Then you want to make sure that you sign it and credit yourself, add your logo, put a link to your website, add your call to action, whatever that might be. So think about creating an infographic in 3 steps: creating the outline, gathering your information, designing, and then double checking your work. And then think about all of these extra steps that kind of are involved. And all of these steps are included in our crash course in infographics ebook. So there's also a summary there for you. Okay, so I just want to cover 6 best practices for infographic design. If you are completely new to designing, I know it's kind of overwhelming to think about how you can make your infographic look good. But if you kind of just follow these 6 best practices, you're off to a great start. We talked about limiting your color palette. This will make things very cohesive. Limit it to maybe 2 to 3 colors that work really well together. Maybe use your business colors or your company's colors, or tie the colors to the topic that you're talking about. Those are different ways to do that. You're going to want to keep your imagery simple, and you're going to want to make sure that the images that you're using work well with each other. So I know that there's many different styles for icons and graphics. So when you're choosing those items, just make sure that they work well together. And you're going to want to be consistent with your style choices, so along that same lines. We talked about white space. So again, if it's getting too crowded, just think about the content that you're sharing and think about whether or not some of the content is absolutely necessary. If it's not necessary for your audience to know about it, then take it out and make sure that you're leaving that white space. Again, 2 fonts is more than enough for an infographic. Sometimes 3, you can kind of get away with 3. If you're unsure about finding a font, find 1 font and then maybe just use bold and italicize, or shrink your font down for your headline, your subheadings throughout your infographic. So those are all different ways, but definitely you don't want to use more than 2 or 3. And then infographic size matters. And what I mean by this is that I know we've all seen different size infographics. Some are very small that you just see maybe in social media posts. Some are page length, and some are long scrolling infographics. So your call to action is always going to be at the very bottom of an infographic. So when you get into creating a very large and long infographic, just keep in mind that you're running the risk that your audience may not get all the way to the bottom of that infographic where your call to action is. So again, really think about the size of your infographic and whether or not you can communicate the information that you need to in a small sized infographic. Okay, so by now you're probably all wondering, how can we incorporate all of these tips using the Easel tool? So this is where we're going to go ahead and quickly demo Easel so that you can go ahead and get started. Again, if you do need a larger or a longer demo with more detail, we do have some webinars archived in YouTube that will do a full-on webinar on how to use Easel, but hopefully we've kind of given you the foundation of what you need to create an actual infographic and structured infographic. So you'll need to give me just one moment because I need to switch applications here and browsers. So you'll see my screen go out here briefly, but I will be pulling another one up shortly. Okay, so give me just one moment here. And just bear with me here. I'm going to share a different window. All right. So I have a new window open and I'm going to go ahead and refresh my screen because it's been sitting idle here, for about 30 minutes. And just give me 1 second. Okay, so I have, for the sake of time, I've already logged into Easel, but if you haven't already, you'll want to create an account through Easel. It's absolutely free for all of the basic tools. We also provide an upgraded version where you can upgrade to Pro, and it gives you access to more templates, more icons, more graphics, and the ability to actually download a PDF version of your infographic. So if you do want to go ahead and upgrade, your version of Easel will provide you with some more information and details to that. What I'm going to showcase to you today is, of course, the Pro version because that's what I have access to. All right, so you'll see that there's an image library. These are all of the infographics that you create that you can save. You can always access them in your library, and you can save them here. You can always make copies of any infographic that you create so that you can modify them for maybe different audiences, or maybe you need to update information every 3 months, 4 months, whatever that might be. You also have access to various public visuals here that you can explore. I do want to point out that you can access our ebooks on our homepage, Crash Course in Infographics ebook, as well as the infographics in the classroom. So if you missed the email that we sent out later, I just want to point out that you can access them right from within our tool. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on this Start Fresh button because some people just want to start from a blank canvas. And I am going to use a template to showcase and demo our tool here today, but oftentimes people just want to start from scratch. So when you click on Start Fresh, you'll see here that you're taken to this page, or you'll be given a few instructions, but you'll see that they're in this black and white banner at the very top. There is a way to completely clear your canvas, and you can resize your canvas as needed by dragging your cursor up and down the page. I also want to point out that on this black and white banner, you can always resize your canvas as well to letter sized, document, legal, photo sized, whatever you need here. But if you do need a more custom solution, you can always resize from the corner, the bottom corner here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and showcase a few templates here. I just want to point out that, again, I have the Pro version, so you'll see that I actually have access to various templates, from resume templates, timeline templates, a process, comparison, even health-related templates or real estate. And we are adding templates to the library all the time, so it's a good thing to just check back and see what's available. I'll go ahead and click on health as an example, and you'll see that I can go ahead and scroll through the templates. I'm going to go ahead and just pull one in as our example here. And it's just a matter of dragging the template onto your canvas that you would like to use. And from here, you'll be able to customize the content. Any content that's already existing in the infographic here, it's just a matter of clicking on either the text or the objects and either editing the content or deleting it if you don't need it. And so here you'll see that this is the medical infographic here. All you need to do is just go ahead and double click on the text, and you'll be able to edit the content. I know this isn't the best title here, but I'm just showing how you can customize it. And if you don't like the colors for the template, then you can always go ahead and change the color for your text very easily. You'll see that there is a grid, but if you click on more, if you have very specific color codes that you're looking to use, that you need to tie for your business or whatever that might be, you can go ahead and enter those codes right here and apply it to the text. And you can do the same for any icons that are solid colors, and I'll show that to you shortly. You can also go ahead and change the font. You'll see that with the upgraded Pro version, you'll have more fonts to choose from, and then you can always upload your own font if you have a very specific font that you'd like to use in your infographic. So you can also bold and italicize and underline. So explore this edit menu as you're going ahead and editing the text. And you can always move it around as well. Okay. Now for the objects on a template, this I wanted to showcase. Some of the objects have been built out by our design team. And so in some cases, it's just a matter of some objects being grouped together. So for example, this I moved away as one object, but if I go ahead and I ungroup this from the edit menu, now I can go ahead and move these as separate objects. So, you may leave them just as is how the designer designed them, but you can always ungroup the objects or group them back together by just dragging your cursor over the objects and grouping them back together again, and then just moving them back. So I just wanted to showcase that because I think that's a tip that people oftentimes overlook. All right, so in terms of adding objects, I just want to show you the objects menu here. I'm going to type in medical. And this is going to showcase a few medical icons. You'll see that there are 37 pages worth of icons that I can choose and add into my infographic. But you'll see that there are various categories. So if you're not sure what you're looking for and you just want to explore the graphics that are available, you can certainly go ahead and do that. But I'm going to go ahead and add one of these icons. It's just a matter of choosing one of the icons and dragging it onto your canvas and then, just enlarging or shrinking it down as needed. And one thing I do want to point out is that when you enlarge the images that you're using from our library, they will not pixelate. So you can make them as large as you need to, and you do not need to worry about it not looking nice on your infographic. It absolutely will not pixelate. So that is a nice feature. So as you can see, I'm enlarging it quite a bit there. Okay. Now let me go ahead and show you an object that's a solid color. So in this case, this object, when I go to my edit menu, I don't have the opportunity to change the color because it has multiple colors incorporated into it. So whatever the colors are used in this image, that's how it will have to stay. But for a solid color image, something like, let's see, I always like to just do a light bulb. Let's see here. Pick one. Okay, and hopefully it'll come through and it won't drag a little bit. Okay, give me just 1 second. I think my internet is freezing up a little bit. Okay, bear with me. I'll wait here for a second while my screen loads again, and I'll just see if there are any questions here. Okay, so Rachel is asking if there are any human icons with different skin tones. Yeah, we do actually have quite a few different people icons or human icons that have different skin tones, absolutely. And so, yeah, if you have access to the upgraded version of Easel, then you certainly have access to that. If I get a chance, I'll try to do my best to showcase that. But if you just go to people under the library, and if you do have an upgraded version of Easel, then you'll be able to see that. Okay, and let me just refresh my window here because I think it is sticking a little bit, maybe because of the webinar. Bear with me. Okay, sorry about that. Let's try this again. Okay, it just looks like it's locking up on me. I think it might be maybe the webinar. I don't know what you're seeing here. Latasha, could you drop me a quick note and let me know if this is kind of sticking for you guys as well? Okay. Thanks, Latasha. Yeah, I'm just going to try and refresh this once again. Okay, I'll try this again. I'll keep moving along because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on something that's being frozen. But when you have an icon that's a solid color, take a look at the menu and see if you can, of course, go ahead and change the color. So here's maybe an example. Let me see if I can ungroup these individuals here. Yeah, okay. Here, I'll do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this will work for us. So as you can see, I took the individual icon here and it was like a reddish pink color, but because it's a solid color, in my edit menu, I will get the option to go ahead and edit the icon. So when you're going through our objects library and you take a look at some of the objects that might be a solid black color, then you might be able to change those to different colors to match up the color scheme of your infographic. Let me go over to people here because I do want to address the question about the different skin tones. So here are the different icons and here are the different styles of people that you can explore. But you'll see that even though we have different styles for the graphic images, you'll see that there are certainly many different skin tones with those as well. So you'll see here that you can scroll through them and see that. So I hope that you can kind of get an idea and feel for what those look like. Okay, so I will go ahead and maybe just drop a few in here. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing a few of the different icons that I'm able to drop in here with different skin tones for you to explore. Okay, so those are a few examples there for you. Okay, the other thing that I would like to showcase is that we do have access to some stock photos. And you can go ahead and drop some stock photos into your infographic. Sometimes they can be nice as maybe a header or the background of a header for an infographic, or maybe you're looking to incorporate the stock photo into an image for some social media or a blog post. So those are all freely available and royalty free through the upgraded version of Easel Pro. And you can also drop YouTube videos into your infographic. So if you are embedding an infographic onto your website, that's a great way to be able to showcase maybe a tutorial that you may have created or a tutorial that you have found on YouTube, or maybe you want to maybe showcase an explainer video that you might have. So those are all great ways to incorporate video into your infographic. You just want to think about how you're going to be sharing that infographic, because if it's a PDF document or an image, then the video won't play. But if you're embedding the infographic onto a website or a learning management system, then you will be able to watch the video on your infographic. And then also, if you have your own images and your own files, you can always upload your own logo, your own images that you've taken maybe using your own camera. So there's many different ways to be able to incorporate your own content as well. Okay, so I'm going to go quickly through some of these other options, and I just want to make sure I leave some time for the questions about upgrading to Easily Pro, because I know we always get those. I know some people may start dropping off, so I do want to get through a little bit more of this before people do start to leave. So we do have some drawing tools available. So if you needed to draw arrows or steps, to maybe make connections between the content, you can go ahead and certainly do that. When you go ahead and you draw content on your infographic, you'll see here that it will be a solid red line. Don't feel like it has to stay a solid red line. You can always change the stroke of your line, and you can go ahead and change the weight of your line, and you can even change the color so you can match it up with your color scheme. So there's a lot of options there to be able to change that and incorporate it into your infographic. There are basic shapes that you can incorporate into your infographic as well, so you don't have to look for those in the objects menu, although they will also be in your objects menu as well. If you need to add text beyond what's already in the template, then you have all of these options for the title, the header, the body. You can add bulleted lists as well. It's just a matter of going ahead and dragging your text onto your infographic, and then it will be a standard black font, but you can go ahead and double click on the text, edit your text, and then you can change the font, the size, the color, and the alignment. You can bold and italicize it as needed. I do also want to point out that if you want to link people out to your website or additional content, you can hyperlink a text. So you can go ahead and just add your website address here or whatever website you want to direct your audience to, and then add it to your infographic. You may want to just make a note that you can click on your infographic on there, or you also want to make sure that you're sharing it in a way that people can click on it. So for example, an image, you can't click on links within an image file, but for something like a PDF, then the link in a PDF will work. So just double check before you publish it out to everyone that you can actually click on them, depending on how you're looking to share it. Okay, so for anyone who's looking to share some data, raw data, there is a way to be able to create your own charts and graphs. So you can go ahead and drag something like a bar chart if you want. And I know my infographic here is getting a little full, but I'm just trying to showcase all these features. You can double click on the chart that you drag on, and then you can change the labels. You can change the data that you have in here. You can add rows. You can remove rows, and you can go ahead and change the font that is on the graph, change the currency. You can show a legend on it. And once you go ahead and you update your changes, then those will be reflected on the chart on your infographic, and then you can go ahead and resize it. So again, you can also change the color. So in this case, it's defaulted to pink and blue, but you have your color grid here as well as a way to enter your own color codes as well. Okay. All right, so let me go to just a few more things, and then I will have to go back to my slide deck. So if you are looking to download your image once you're done, then with the basic version, you'll be able to download a low quality image, which is simply a .jpeg image, which is something that can be used on social media and websites, recommended because it doesn't take up a whole lot of space on there. But if you wanted to go ahead and do a high quality image that you plan to print off, or you want to download a PDF version of it, then you will want to go ahead and upgrade to Easily Pro to be able to go ahead and do that. And then also, in terms of sharing your infographic, you can get a shareable link that will direct people to your infographic. You can view it in your browser. You can also even embed your infographic into your website or your learning management system, and you can go ahead and embed that code, and people will be able to see it right from there. So there's many different ways to go ahead and share it as well. So I highly recommend that you explore that. And if you need a tutorial on that, we definitely have a tutorial that will walk you through all of those options. Okay, so with that, I do need to close out of this window, and I'm going to go back to my presentation deck to address some other questions here. Okay, give me just one moment. All right. So if you are interested in going pro, I do want to point out that there are thousands and thousands of icons to choose from, and it's only going to be $3 a month. That's $36 a year. So it's a really affordable subscription price, and it does allow you to create unlimited infographics, download unlimited infographics. It really is just a great subscription price and value. And just to give you an idea, here are just some of the icons that you would have access to. This is not all of them. It's just a sampling. So you'll definitely see that there are people icons and technology icons that you can use and incorporate. We have different types of food icons and styles that you can use. We also have business icons. So if you're using the basic version and if you've felt that you don't have really a whole lot of options there, I highly recommend that maybe you do a trial for Easel Pro and get a feel for what's available in the library and see if it's right for you. You'll also get thousands of templates that you can use as a starting point for your infographics. And if you're new to infographic design or just design in general, these are invaluable. And also the templates really are used by so many different sectors and industries. We have Fortune 500 businesses using them, small businesses using them, students, whether they are students in college or high school. We even have middle school students and some upper elementary school students using it. So it really can be used at all levels. We even have nonprofits using them. So the other thing I do want to point out is that we do have discounts for our nonprofit organizations as well as our teachers. And so you can get that 50% off discount. We will provide some information in an email out to you, but feel free to contact us at any time for that discount, Dinah@Easel, or you can email our support@Easel as another option, or just drop a message through the chat window when you're in the Easel design tool if you want to inquire about that discount. And we also want to point out that if a teacher pays the full price for Easel Pro, then we will give you seats for your students to also upgrade. So this is a great opportunity for you to be able to extend the upgraded version to your students, which gives your students all those images and stock photos that they can use freely on their designs, and they can just kind of focus on the research part and design of their infographic, as opposed to having them go out on the open web trying to find their own images and then worrying about whether or not they can actually use them for their purposes. So that's a great way to be able to extend that out to your students. And if you have questions about getting set up in that way, or let's say you already have an upgraded version and you do want to get those seats extended to your students, email us and we'll provide you with those instructions for you. Okay, and for some of our small business customers or people who just may not have time to actually create their infographic designs but have a need, we do have an affordable infographic design service. What's nice about it is that we will create your infographic or even create a template that is tied to your business and your needs, use your colors or use colors that are tied to the topic. But what's nice is that you can also upload those templates that are customized to you from our design team, and then you can go ahead and edit the information that you need on an ongoing basis. So let's say you have us design an infographic that's going to show maybe a quarterly report for your business, then we can design that one template, and then you can go in there and update it on a quarterly basis with your own data, but you don't have to worry about the design. So that's a great example of that design service. Okay, so I think I'm right on schedule and right on time here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I know Latasha answered a lot of questions along the way, and I hope that she answered a lot of the questions for you. We had a lot of information to share with you today. I hope you found today's session very valuable, but feel free to reach out to us at support@Easel, or you can email me directly, Dinah@Easel. And again, don't forget about all of the additional tools and resources that we have out there to support your needs after today's session. I know we kind of went through everything pretty quickly, but my hope is that you are ready to go ahead and get started and have a starting point for your new designs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out this broadcast here shortly. But thank you so much for your attention, and good luck, everyone. Have a great day.